Meet Michael, the film's main character. He has just awoken from a nightmare, but he needs to get ready for work. Michael works as a server at a casino, where wealthy patrons spend their money. Michael has acquired the trust of all his employees despite only being there for 3 months, thanks to his strong performance and pleasant personality. But, underneath all of that, it comes out that everything he does is completely for his own gain. This is demonstrated when he removes his makeup and reveals his disguise. Michael began his performance on that specific night. He appeared to be quite competent at his movements, beginning with conquering machines in casino games, swiping VIP cards, and breaking into elevator systems to get access to exclusive rooms reserved for high-stakes players. Michael, who wears advanced glasses that can see through things, also won the game, netting a profit of up to 5 million euros that night. Unfortunately, all of his accomplishments were washed away when he met one of his opponents named Alex. Alex has the capacity to influence people's eyesight. Michael, who was originally highly confident, was beaten because the card he saw was an illusion created by Alex. Unable to accept his defeat and the loss of all his money, Michael pursued one of the other players, but it was all an illusion. Michael assumed he was pursuing Alex, but it was actually another player in the VIP room. Meanwhile, Alex exited the casino calmly. Michael was subsequently detained by Victor, the casino's owner, for the uproar he had provoked. Victor then begins questioning Michael about causing his casino to lose over 5 million euros. He then ordered the money be returned and granted Michael 1 week to do so. Michael first hesitated to return the money because he had also lost money and was still enraged by Alex's magical tactics, but he finally gave in after Victor threatened him. Michael didn't want to squander his time, so he visited an old buddy, Leon, who operated a tiny casino. Michael observed a piece of jewelry with the same symbol as Alex's tattoo at a friend's casino. Leon subsequently stated that the symbol represented a mystical ability capable of transporting the owner into an endless subconscious, much as Alex did when he changed Michael's visual viewpoint, causing him to see a completely new image on the cards he was holding. Alex was meeting with a man named Gordon in another location. Gordon, it turned out, had planned all of Alex's activities, which were meant to put Michael to the test. Returning to Michael, he discovered Leon's journal on superhuman abilities. Michael then utilized the notepad to look for persons with unusual supernatural talents who he thought may aid him with his objective. Michael was eventually able to recruit other individuals, including Eric, who can manipulate items, Tony, who can control all technological equipment, and Kevin, who can attract people. Michael continued to outline his goals that each of his team members had to complete, including creating a simulation of a genuine gambling game, similar to what is generally done in a casino. Unfortunately, the simulation, which had begun well, had to be halted since each player's ego was still uncontrollable. Michael eventually decided to add one more member who would be in charge of everything. Michael went to find Veronica the next day. Veronica is a telepath, which means she can hear and transmit ideas from afar. Her ability aids Michael in communicating with his colleagues. Michael can finally effortlessly handle all of his team members now that Veronica has joined the squad. Veronica is described as a woman who can enter the subconscious of anyone she wants, then connect with Michael, and Michael will give orders to all members of his team, beginning with Eric, who was assigned to ring a warning bell, Kevin, who was assigned to urge people to scream in fear for no reason, and Tony, who was assigned to create an electrical short circuit. Furthermore, Veronica appears to have the most power among the others, since she can even cause an earthquake in everyone's head, scattering them and making them flee for their lives. Michael then developed his strategy, and the preparations for their expedition were made. Before we knew it, 2 days had passed since Victor had Mendez the other day. Michael and his colleagues then began carrying out their plans. At the start of their strategy, Michael could simply provide directions to his team without using any means of communication, as if what was in the man's heart could be directly routed to each person he targeted it rapidly. Victory and profit became second nature to them, but that didn't last long since Eric and Tony got carried away with the game and lost control, so they kept playing without stopping. They eventually grabbed the notice of the venue's security as a result of their actions. The soldiers then took both of them to another room. Fortunately, Michael used Kevin's talent to mesmerize the guards, causing them to release their 2 buddies. Michael was both enraged and concerned about Eric and Tony. He then proceeded to explain things to them in the hopes that this would not happen again, since it may jeopardize their safety. Michael then resumed his objective, but this time they only gambled on one sort of roulette game. Michael's objective, which was simply aiming for 5 million euros, managed to earn up to 10 million euros in no time. They left the casino after making a large profit and celebrated their success on the beach. Something unexpected happened the next day. Victor, who had noted Michael's suspicious conduct, discovered Michael's buddy's skill. Victor and his guys then apprehended them and explained his desire to hire them all as employees at his casino. Victor's objective, of course, is to expand his firm and collect the massive earnings that Michael's pals can provide. Unfortunately, Victor did not only desire these fine individuals, but he also ordered his soldiers to assassinate Michael since he refused to hand over his buddies. Because Victor intimidated Michael, Michael was forced to let his pals work as employees in Victor's casino. It appears that Michael's fortunes are still on his side. He survived after being shot by one of Victor's men because the bullet missed, and, more shockingly, the rescue was carried out by Gordon. Gordon was ultimately revealed to be Michael's biological father, with whom he had lost touch during the previous 10 years. Michael feels all of the horrible incidents he has witnessed to be Gordon's fault, but his father was hesitant to be accused of trapping him, arguing that everything he did was a lesson he had provided so that his son might be better taught to continue his skill. Gordon, it turns out, has superhuman abilities as well. Michael then tries to save his pals, feeling bad for engaging them in this problem. He went incognito as usual to enter the casino. In the end, Michael was able to reconnect with his pals, but unlike Eric, Tony, and Kevin, Veronica opted to dwell in her subconscious rather than work for Victor. Her move has put her in a coma for the previous few days. Hearing this, Michael, who appears to have fallen in love with Veronica, begins to design a fresh strategy, and they are back in action. They were ultimately able to resuscitate Veronica, who was still in a coma, thanks to Michael and his friends' excellent teamwork. Unfortunately, their acts were discovered, so they opted to hide in the casino vault, since it was the only secure location for them to seek sanctuary from Victor and his men. They then blamed each other, notably Eric, who blamed Michael for getting them all into problems, while Michael, who couldn't tolerate seeing Veronica's state, ultimately resolved to enter the subconscious of the girl he loved. Michael entered her mind with Kevin's assistance and located Veronica, who was still lost in her own reverie. Although Michael struggled at first, he eventually managed to communicate his love for Veronica and was able to persuade her to awaken from her coma. Unfortunately, there is only one door in the subconscious via which they may return to reality, and Michael enables Veronica to utilize it while disregarding his own existence. Michael, who was now alone in his subconscious, began to recollect his encounter with his father, who had talked to him about accessing the door to other people's minds. Gordon had passed on his superhuman abilities to Michael, and he had also given his son a compass at the moment. A few moments later, Michael, who had just realized the existence of supernatural powers in him, suddenly saw another man who had just entered his subconscious as if giving him directions to another door, and that man turned out to be Alex, who had been deliberately ordered by Gordon to give Michael some guidance about his new abilities. Alex was also the one who transported Michael back in time while he was being held at gunpoint by Victor's men. Michael was ultimately able to rescue himself from the bullet thanks to Alex's assistance. Veronica, who had already awoken from her coma, roused Michael up a few seconds later. As if to demonstrate his new talents, Michael then asked all of his buddies to rush out of the safe with all of the money inside. Although they were apprehensive at first, they all understood that Michael now possessed a new power that allowed him to enter the subconscious thoughts of people and control their brains, despite the fact that the occurrence had occurred previously. Michael was able to trick Victor into believing that his safe had been broken into by Michael and his crew. The casino owner then sent all of his guys to chase their quarry on the other side of the structure. Michael and his pals were eventually allowed to leave the casino in peace. They all went to meet Alex at a beach. Alex was waiting for them when they got to the beach. He then told Michael and his pals about a new assignment that Michael and his friends had to complete, which seemed to suggest that they now had far more skills than before, and there was now someone who could produce a maelstrom of fire in the palm of his hand. Long story short, 3 months have passed and Michael is currently strolling with Gordon as they discuss their next assignment.